I was gonna do this with like a better mic and stuff, but I think that I'm just gonna stick with what I've got. Clearly I haven't put a lot of prep into it because I'm wearing a pajama shirt and look like this, so per the usual, that's usually how things go for me. So, I want to address some of my favorite books this year, along with books that I am reading currently, I will be reading into the new year. So, I really want to continue my YouTube channel into the new year. Clearly I haven't posted for ages and I've never posted consistently whatsoever. And I especially gave up once my camera broke like over a year ago. But I really want to continue, even if it's low quality like this. I just want to be doing something with my YouTube channel in the new year, just for fun, because why not? I enjoy it, it makes me laugh, it's a good time, it documents parts of my life that are really nostalgic to go back and look on, even just when we were decorating my apartment a year or two ago, I don't know when it was. In the new year, I want to focus my YouTube channel on one thing, and that is my hobbies. So a lot more book videos, crochet videos, stuff like that. Probably those two things mostly, even if it's just me yapping and doing it and you watching my process while I yap. So that's kind of like my goal, my vision, if you will, for the new year. So I'm excited for that. I am going to start this off strong by showing you my favorite books that I read in 2024. And then I'll show you what I'm reading right now and what I want to be reading into 2025. I'm going off of natural light, so the lighting's probably gonna keep changing, and I apologize in advance for that. I had like 5 books that I loved this year, and I really want to show them to you, but I only have 2 physical copies. The other 3 book series that I read was all on Kindle and audiobook. Anyways, we have got these Infinite Threads, which I've talked about before. I have a signed copy. This is the 3rd book of my favorite series of all time, and we are anxiously awaiting the 4th book. This is not the right book that I meant to grab. Take 2 with this. I meant to grab a completely different book. This is the 3rd book of the series. It's This Woven Kingdom, These Infinite Threads. That was the 2nd one. All This Twisted Glory is the 3rd one. So now we can talk about it now that I actually grabbed the right freaking book. All This Twisted Glory, fantastic, fantastic book. 10 out of 10. I've never read a whole series where every single book is a 5-star. Like the first book's a 5-star, the next one's a 6-star, the next one's a 7-star. Like that's how good these are. And it doesn't get better than 5 stars, but somehow like it still does. You know what I mean? I don't know why I specifically am so in love with this series. I mean, I do. But also, like, no one else ever talks about it. Like, no one's talking about this series. And this is the same author who wrote the Shatter Me series, and obviously that was really popular during its time. But this still hasn't had its moment, okay? And I don't understand why, because this is honestly the best book series I have ever read in my life. Why is it so great, you may ask? Because a lot of the books that we see now, like, especially on Book Talk and all that stuff that are gaining popularity and fame rapidly, like, it has a lot of smut in it, a lot of graphics in it, a lot of this, that, and the other in it. This doesn't. And surprisingly, neither does this book as far as, like, the smut is concerned, because these are, like, my 2 favorite book series. Obviously, this is the first book of the series, and this is the last book of a different series. But, like, these book series are, like, my favorite of all time. This was just as good as the first book of this to me. And that is crazy, and that is saying something, okay? Neither of them have a lot of smut, and that's kind of what I like about it, because, like, the sexy stuff doesn't really bother me to an extent, but I like when we've got, like, knuckles brushing, and we're like, oh! Like, you know, it's so saturated, like, physical intimacy in books, it's such a saturated area. I want us to get excited about, like, oh my gosh, they brushed hands for a second and now I'm getting to have butterflies. Like, that's what I want in a book. I want it to, like, lead us on a little bit, like, wanting more. I don't want it to be every other chapter and then we banged again. You know what I mean? Am I wearing this backwards? I definitely am wearing this shirt backward. Cute. All that to say that this does have romance in it. It's got magic in it. It's got, oh my gosh, I am the chosen one type stuff. And I'm obsessed with it. I am really, really bad at giving, like, a little synopsis on books, especially when there's multiple books in the series, because I'm like, I don't know where to start and where to stop. Like, I remember everything, But am I gonna be able to tell you in order? I don't know. So, you should read that if you like fantasy books. Divine Rivals. This is everywhere. You've heard everybody talk about it. Like, so many people have been talking about Divine Rivals all this year, maybe even last year. I don't remember when it gained popularity. But like, Divine Rivals has been around for like a hot second. I think that Divine Rivals gets just as much hype as it should. Maybe even more. Like, maybe it should get even more hype. Like I said before, not filled with smut, but filled with romance. And I really love that. Something that really just like hit home with me with this book is the love between the main characters. It's almost enemies to lovers, kind of, and it's got magic in it, but it also has like historical vibes because there's like war going on, but it's war between the gods. And there's these two gods that are at war that kind of almost put people under their spell to go to war for them. So it's like it's like this fantasy, but also kind of gives historical vibes. Again, the love between the two main characters, it's just so pure, and it's just like, I'm in love with you so much, and I care only about you, and it's as simple as that. Not, I want to sleep with you, not, I just can't get my arms, like, I just can't take my hands off of you because you're so sexy. It's not that. It's, I'm in love with you. I only want you, and I only care about you, and I would give up my life for you, and I will cherish you and treasure you till the day that I die. That's the vibes that are going on here, okay? It's satisfying enough to where you're like, I just love them. It makes you just sit there and go like, hee hee, like, I just love them, oh my gosh, like, it makes you fangirl. I know a lot of people like the graphic smutty stuff, and that is totally fine. I don't judge. I'm just saying that stuff makes me uncomfortable, and it's hard for me to enjoy a book when I'm uncomfortable. I'm just going to read you, I obviously only tabbed a few things. So one of them that I marked says, that fire in her eyes could have brought him to his knees, and he loathed the facade he was wearing. I have such a hard time saying loathed, but you get it. I just love how this writer writes. Here's another part that like gave me butterflies. I was like, hee hee. You should take advantage of me. I can give you advice. And why did her gaze hang on that first sentence of his? She shook her head, lamenting the day she had met Roman Kit, and responded, I don't need your advice, although I thank you for the offer. And these in context are a little bit better. This one, She said, her pulse was beating like a drum, but she drew a deep breath and whispered, read to me, Roman. Can my dog not be so dramatic? It's like she forgets other people live in this world. Okay, listen, if you have not read this book, skip ahead in this just by like a few seconds because this is a huge spoiler, but it like melts my heart. I'm telling you that Roman Carver Kit is in the garden waiting to marry you. And the last one I bookmarked is a war with the gods is not what you expect it to be. Anyways, so there's that. Last thing that I'll kind of group into one because it was 3 books that were a series. I had to adjust how I was sitting for a second. The series that I read was the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And I read all 3 books in the same month, which is crazy fast for me. In 1 month, reading 3 books back to back is pretty like wild for me. I really liked the first book of the series, and the first and second book I would both give 4 stars. The final book I was gonna give 3 stars because I did not like the way that they did the final book. It switched between different POVs, and that was the only book in the series that did that, and I didn't like it. I was texting my sister who had already read the whole series and was like, you gotta read this series. I text my sister and I'm like, hey, so what the heck is going on with this 3rd book? Why is it like this? I saw in the front that it said like, to my sister, thank you for making me add so-and-so's POV to the book. So we can all blame her sister for adding that POV because yes, it did add to the book, but also I hated it because it's the most awful, insufferable, dislikable human being of all time that we have to see the POV of, and he tries to make himself like this hero in his head where he's like, I know I probably shouldn't have done this, but it's just for the greater good. It's because I love her. It's because I need her. I'm like, hey, shut up. However, the reason why I didn't make the last book a 3-star in my mind and instead bumped it back up to a 4-star is because the ending is so perfect. The ending is just so fantastic. And it's exactly what needed to happen. All that to say that I will be reading the Caraval series. I started reading it twice now, and I'm still reading the first book. I like it. The only issue is technically Caraval does come before Once Upon a Broken Heart, because the main love interest in Once Upon a Broken Heart is also in the Caraval series, but like barely, and you don't need to read them in order like that. I think that you should, not because of Jax, the character that is in Caraval and also in Once Upon a Broken Heart. The only reason why I feel like you should read Caraval first is because it does not seem nearly as good as Once Upon a Broken Heart. I think after reading that whole series in a month, I just need a break from the author. You know, like no matter how good an author is, you just kind of need to mix it up here and there and like take a break from specific styles and stuff. That's kind of like how I'm feeling. So I just am not, hello? I'm just not enjoying it very much, and I think I just need a break from the author. I feel like that is a good segue into another book series that I did not like that I read this year, but Cruel Prince, Wicked King. I don't like it at all. Listen guys, I'm really trying. I do not like it at all. I don't. Period. Point blank. I don't like this book. I don't. And it feels really good to say that out loud. I don't like this book. Okay, we're gonna put this away for a second because I've only fully read this one, so this is the only one that I can actually give a valid opinion about. Very political, very wordy politically. That's fine. Political stuff doesn't bother me, especially when it's like a make-believe world, but also the main character is so unlikable. And I don't think I'm saying anything new here. I've listened to other people's opinions too. Again, after I read it, I then decided to look at different people's opinions because I hate learning about what people think of a book before I read it, because then in my head I feel like I'm gonna think it's gonna sway my opinion and sway my experience. I don't like the characters. I don't like the concept that much. Okay, I do like the concept of the book. I just don't like the execution. Jude, the most unlikable female character I've ever read in a book. Especially like for a female main character, so deeply unlikable to me. She's a brat. She does things the wrong way every time. Like every time she does something, I'm like, hey girlie, no. And if that's the goal of the author, then like good job, because you did a really good job making them so unlikable. But if it's like the classic, I want this character to be liked, but like maybe they're misunderstood. I'm not getting, oh, she's misunderstood. I'm getting, she's a little brat who has to do things her way, keeps messing up over and over, and does not learn from her mistakes. But I think that that's okay. You can still like a book without liking the main character. I don't like Jax. Like we were just talking about Once Upon a Broken Heart. Even after the end where you would say that made it all worth it and he redeemed himself, I don't really give a crap. I don't like him. I loved the main character of Once Upon a Broken Heart. Didn't care for Jax at all, and he was arguably a main character as well because he's like the love interest. So like books can still be good and they can still work without you liking the main characters. But for me, I didn't like anything else about the book enough to get through disliking the main character. So I painstakingly pushed myself through this book just to get it done with and just to get it out of the way. And that's my opinion. So I'm just trying to be like true to myself and be honest and be like, hey, I know it's popular. I really want to like it. I just don't. I have started Light Lark. And I don't know how far I am through it. I'd have to look because I've been audiobooking this. I feel like this is an part audiobook, part read type thing. I usually bounce between the two because that's the only way I can finish books because I have a very short attention span. So when I want to crochet, I can't crochet and read a book. So I'll put on my audiobook on the TV and crochet, and it's great. So I have gotten a few hours into Light Lark. I don't remember what chapter I'm on. I'm confused, but I kind of like it. Like, whenever this came out, people were very, I saw both extreme ends of the spectrum. I saw people say, I hated that was horrific, that was awful. It's a rip-off of XYZ. Like, I've seen people hate on it so aggressively, and then some people say, I'm so deeply enthralled and obsessed with this book. But the author's not very old. This is one of her first books. I say let's give her a little bit of a break. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. We already talked about Caraval, how I am part of the way through it, and I'm enjoying it. It's just meant to me. Like I said, I just needed a break from this author, but I like the concept of it, and I think it's cool. I'll be reading Powerless soon, probably in January, because it's gonna take me most of January anyways to get through my current read, but I'm about to show you that. But Powerless, I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. Circling back to this really quick, I never mentioned the second book. I got the second book, I ordered it the moment I finished the last word of this book. So I started it like a day later, got a chapter in, and was really upset it didn't pick up right where this book had left off. So I have not picked the second book up since then, and that's been a few months ago. I know that it's good. It's exactly what it needs to be, according to my sister, who has again read both the series, obviously. But this is one of my favorite books ever, and so I'm really gonna be disappointed if the second one's not that good. So this book I got from the library many a times, and kept on getting like a chapter in and then not finishing it before I had to give it back to the library. So then I finally just bought it because I'm like, okay, well, if it's gonna take me this long, I might as well just buy it. Have I still read it? No. Is it another judge the book by its cover because the cover's stunning? Yes. Yes, that's it. But I'm really excited. Like, I do want to read it. I'm excited about it. I really like the concept of it. Yeah, so it's a lot. Anyways, we're gonna move on from that. Guess what I'm reading right now? This big boy, When the Moon Hatched. I had no idea when I put this on my reading list how huge this book was. And when I looked up When the Moon Hatched on YouTube, the very first video that popped up was, I read When the Moon Hatched so you didn't have to. 2-hour long video on YouTube of this girl saying, it has no plot. I'm like, so how did you talk about something that is plotless for 2 hours straight? So I didn't trust that video right off the bat. Then the second one is, you have to read When the Moon Hatched, like the video right below it from some other YouTuber. I'm like, okay, clearly we are divisive yet again here. Okay, so anything that involves dragons I love. I have not heard anybody's opinion on it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And I refuse to look up opinions and reviews because I just want to find out for myself if I like it or not. Clearly it's a thickums, it's a thick book, hoping to read it in a month. A lot of YouTubers and like book talk people will read a few of these books in a month, or a whole series that looks like this in a month. This has a second book to it. How do you have more to say? How do you have more to say? But anyways, I've started it. I'm skeptical, but I'm going into it with an open mind, okay? Also, as you probably saw from my reading selection, I'm so used to reading young adult books that I forget are technically YA. I forget that all the time. This has so many F-bombs in it. I was shocked as I'm listening to the audiobook because that's how I decided to start this since I knew I would want to go between the two. But just based off the language, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely an adult book, which is cool. I have no issue with it. I was just a little taken aback. I was like, oh, a fantasy book with dragons that has F-bombs in it. I was like, huh, what? Like, there's a lot of cuss words. Again, doesn't bother me. I probably cuss way more than this book does. So I'm not bothered. I'm not like, oh, cuss words, how evil. I'm pure. I'm pure. Get it away from me, it's filth. No, but I was shocked because I'm not used to that in books. But I think between this and this, which I thought this was the biggest book on my shelf, and then we got this bad boy, okay? So between these two, I'm gonna have my hands full. That and the second Divine Rivals book, I'm going to be very busy. I'm trying to say that as far as reading goes, I'm gonna be very busy for a hot minute. So I do want to start Throne of Glass. That's probably gonna be like the series that I read this year, like the biggest series. Haley Pham did like a year ago or something, a video that was like reading Throne of Glass and reading the whole Throne of Glass series in a month. I would love to do that. I don't know how that's possible. I feel like between my reading hobbies this year, my crochet hobbies, I'm really prioritizing my mental health, and that is something that I think is a huge deal, and I am really happy for myself and I'm really excited, and I really do hope that I will be able to keep up with YouTube and will be able to add that to my slew of hobbies and kind of just make it one space where all my hobbies can coexist together, and it makes me happy, and I'm really excited about it, and hopefully it's like encouraging and exciting for other people as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes me. But if you did watch this, I thank you, I appreciate you. I have a lot of editing to do, so if I got to this point to where it actually gets posted, I will be very proud of myself. But I do love and appreciate you for taking time out of your day to be with me and spend time with me. The lighting's going, so now I need to hurry up, but I love you, thank you, and hopefully I will see you again sometime soon.